Just bullshit behind the scenes shit.
It's probably the same thing.
Huh?
It's the same damn thing.
Everybody? Oh shit.
And see, that's why. That's exactly why I don't do it.
Oh, here, use my phone. It has the grip.
Oh, well, look at that. Let's do. Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, I don't want it near.
I'm gonna do some adjustments and some reworking around.
Take the green thing. Lean it up against the green thing. It's heavier than a slushy cup. It's almost empty.
All right, it's rolling. We are live.
Oh, we is live.
Connecting.
Are we going over?
All right.
Oh wait, we were live on that
Okay.
thing too. Oh,
Oh
whoops.
yeah, this is.
All right, so this is the main one
shit.
here.
Okay.
We're gonna squeeze in a little tight here. All right.
Squeezing.
So we're gonna just focus on us as a discussion point, but I will bring up the comments every once in a while and all of that. Okay.
Bring your head in, sir.
So, yeah. All right. Hey guys, what's going on? Akasan here.
Hi, Miss Lividoll.
Tonight.
It's Marta again.
We're live from New York. Okay, we're gonna get to all your comments in some time. We'll try to make this around 20 minutes here, but we're talking. Yes.
You missed a golden opportunity.
What, me?
Live from New York. It's Sunday night.
See, I thought about that in my head. I really did. I just let it go.
Womp, womp, womp. So we're gonna get into a little bit of a spoiler talk about Joker. You guys have been wanting to do this ever since you saw the movie a few days ago, and New York Comic Con is finally over, which allows us to get into this interesting conversation. So first off, across the board, just what did you guys think about the movie itself? Just if you got to sum it up, what do you think about it? I would say for me, it was I was very uncomfortable the entire time, and it was a very mixed sort of emotion. It actually really reminds me of Logan in some sense, and the fact that Logan as a movie I really enjoyed, but I am okay with only seeing it once. It's not something that I personally feel like I want to watch it because I don't feel so good watching the movie for
Kill that movie.
you know. So when I saw Joker even being advertised already for 4K for a steel book, I'm like, I like the movie a lot, but I don't know if I could really sit through that like depressive feeling again. So loved it, but it's something that had a really weird effect on me, which I think is good for any sort of form of art. Liv.
Equally as uncomfortable watching it. If I were watching that alone at my house, I wouldn't have been okay, probably by myself afterwards. I'm glad I was with friends and could have vented about it afterwards.
Right.
Uncomfortable. That's
Yeah.
a really good word.
Yeah.
Even to the point where we're full spoiler, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is it. Spoiler warnings, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full spoilers. Like even to the point where the first 40 minutes of it, I was like, dude, I can't, I'm uncomfortable with this person. Knowing it's a movie, like it's not even good. Like, but I guess as any art is, art that makes you feel something,
Yeah.
whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is doing its job, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
whether I liked it or I didn't like it, or it was my taste or not my taste, it did what it was intended to do.
We did what we said we were going to do.
Right.
But I did really like it.
Yeah,
so
I
if
agree.
you getting through that first 45
Right.
minutes of my skin crawling, like I was okay. And honest to God, if I didn't have those 45 minutes of like, I probably wouldn't have liked the rest of the movie because I wouldn't have really
Appreciated it.
Yeah,
And
totally.
built up, correct, yeah.
Yeah, the setup. It needed to
Character
have the setup.
setup, yeah.
Because character development throughout the movie was absolutely incredible. And if Joaquin Phoenix does not win an award for this movie, like I'm never watching another movie ever again in my life because I will boycott the man because he was incredible.
Yeah.
As an artist, as an actor, fuck, like
went all
That
in.
was powerful. That
Went
was
all in.
powerful.
So powerful, yeah.
And with like for me with that, like I do love the movie. I definitely will say. I didn't find it as disturbing as much, or at least what the hype had kind of led me to. Definitely was a lot of awkward moments for me.
Yeah.
Like anytime this man was laughing, I was like, I'm so awkward.
Yeah, my skin was like,
Like his whole comedy bit, I felt so bad for him at the same time. I'm like, oh my God, like this is your moment, and you just this infliction or this this mental state, this disorder is really just crippling him in the moment he's been looking forward to his entire life. So man, he got up there and that laugh just started. I was like, oh my God, this is really hard to watch. But as far as the overall arc, like I love the movie, I love the direction, I love the awareness that it brings to mental illness and how they handled it. They didn't mock it, they didn't make it where it was like make fun of it or
like
just
every mental person is going to be a criminal and is going to want to.
right.
And it wasn't stigmatic in any way, like where
Right.
you would expect like that to have been Tourette's.
Right.
You know, it wasn't stigmatic.
Yeah, okay,
you know,
Right,
it was
right,
just
right.
pretty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no one's ever tackled, at least I know of, no one's ever tackled that certain kind of disorder within film before.
I agree.
And especially attaching it to such a character like the Joker, it makes so much sense versus something where we're used to him just being maniacal and laughing because he's a Joker. You know, they actually put a reasoning behind it as to where that comes from.
That's a very good point.
And
yeah.
that makes it a lot more
It's
unsettling because it's
grounded.
like you can't, it's something he can't control, but once he starts to learn and adapt and being okay with who he is, that's no longer the situation. Now it's just pure enjoyment.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of more sinister, like, oh shit, this is kind of, now he's just crazy.
Do you
'Cause he's
remember that
accepting all of
moment?
it.
So he was like laughing, and that like really extravagant laugh, and then he turned the corner and he shut it all off.
Oh yeah.
That moment.
When he was on his
shifted
way before he got fired.
The whole
Yeah.
movie for me.
Yeah, before he got
Like,
fired.
It was almost in that moment. That's exactly what I think of in that moment when you're like, when he learned that it was okay and accepted himself,
Right.
because he finally, like, after he killed that person, he was like,
Or people.
the people at that point, yeah, like, it's not that bad. I mean, it is bad, but like, okay. I mean, I don't feel as bad as I thought I was gonna feel.
Right.
And then it was like, it's almost as if murder is his outlet. It's his go for a jog. It's his like read a book, or
Right.
it's his meditate.
Well, let's get back.
Yeah,
we'll get back to that real quick.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh no,
Sorry.
it's fine.
You kind of just ran with
That's what
it.
happens. See, that's what I
have so
love.
much to say about this movie. I'm so sorry.
I love this movie because of these kinds of conversations that we're having. And you just get sucked into it. There's
Right.
so many things to pick apart about the human mind and like.
So what did you think, though?
So I loved the movie. I didn't see any of the trailers, so I didn't really know what it was going to be about. I had just heard that it wasn't going to be a comic movie, that like something about like the writers hadn't looked at any of like the source material or anything like that. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'm going to go in with an open mind. But I ended up really loving it and feeling like, immediately I went on Facebook after the movie and I was like, this is not a kid's movie. Do not bring your children to this movie theater. This is not a comic movie. This is not a villain, like a Maleficent villain type of movie. Because that's the only other villain movie that I can really think of that was like instantaneous to like my memory is like Maleficent, seeing the other side of like the villain. No, it's not even anything like that. I thought of it more of like a biopic of seeing someone decay mentally.
Okay.
And then it just kind of fitting into the story of the Joker. Like it just happens to be that it's the Joker, but I feel like you could kind of apply it to a lot of other people, in a sense, like, or at least like if you take away the Joker element, it's still so powerful and raw watching someone.
So yeah, let's get into that now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Joker's affliction, because that was I think the focal point in this very realistic world that Todd Phillips had created. There's a lot of borrowed elements from Taxi Driver and Kings of Comedy, and The Man Who Laughs even. And but it looks like in this world, instead of being like a criminal genius, so to speak, that the Joker is often portrayed as a mobster or just Satan sometimes. This was a Joker whose affliction was when he's nervous or he just has particularly uncomfortable in his own skin and trying to fit into a particular societal mold.
The first 10 minutes were uncomfortable
Right.
watching him get his
He doesn't
ass
know how to
kicked by
express
the
himself.
kids.
Right, exactly. He can't really
It's
express
just-
himself.
That
Yeah.
really solidified him for me as like,
Right.
oh, okay, they're bringing like a human factor to him.
Right.
They're really making him like a
Well, they gave
actual
him the-
person,
they-
not yeah, like
They
not
gave
a-
him a condition, and it was
yeah.
and it is relatable because the whole issue with him having a card to explain a condition that most people don't have. To me, that actually reminded me of the times when I used to go to the mall and deaf people
Give you the card.
would
It's
give you the
instantly what
card.
I thought too.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
They would go around and give you like, "Hello, I'm deaf. If you could just give me a donation, any tip, that would be appreciated."
Or like
Please.
learn sign language and it has all the symbols on it. They have that in
I
the
saw
training.
that.
Right, or
sometimes.
something like that, and they go
Yeah.
around with the cards, and then you give it back to them after that. I really thought about that, and so I guess in this sense, do you guys feel like this was the correct way to go about creating a Joker character versus the sort of Jokers we know of? And I still put Jared Leto in that category because a lot of people do not like him as a Joker, but I thought he matched a Joker that was very recognizable from the comics, certain
Yes.
comics.
Totally agree with
But
that.
in this case, with what Todd Phillips had and Joaquin had created, how do you feel this kind of ranks up with the rest of the Jokers?
I would, as far as like my process, I would put him second.
Really?
Ranking, yeah.
First,
To me,
Heath Ledger?
Heath is definitely,
Yeah, okay.
Heath knocks it out, and he's number 2 for me because like you said, it's an entirely different approach to the Joker and what we know, and that's what I kind of like about it. And Joaquin makes it his complete own, and they make take a lot of creative liabilities with the character. But I just think because somebody who obviously not as extreme, kind of suffers from mental toughness with anxiety and depression, such as myself, and things of that nature. I admire the direction that they went as far as the awareness of that and how they incorporated it into the character. And so I guess that's why I kind of resonated with it so much more, because I appreciated that direction without mocking it, but making it kind of crucial in defining who that person is, whether it goes off the fucking crazy, insane La La Land, but it's still such an important arc to that character. And even you mentioned the card when he first gives it to, that asshole lady on the bus.
Oh my god, I wanted to punch her.
Yeah, she keeps it. So the next interaction he has with the people on the
couldn't get
subway,
it out,
he couldn't.
yeah.
Like, there's
That's
no
a
way.
good point. You know what? We actually talked about that during the movie. Like, did she get back the card or not? Because, and then that was one of the things that actually possibly led to him getting his ass kicked by the 3 white
Because he
dudes.
can't express it.
Yeah.
It's just life in that situation just literally taking over. He had no control. And without that control, it's just like, and that was one of the staples for the rest of the movie. It's just like, that's what started it. He's just helpless. He can't fend. And these people see all this and just taking advantage. They just don't give a shit. And that just leads to everything else going on. But I thought that was a really interesting moment with the crash situation and all that. So yeah, 2 for me.
For me, I put Heath and Joaquin tied
Wow.
because
I can't wait to hear this.
yeah, so I think they're tied because they are 2 different stages of the Joker. Heath is already a developed Joker to me. Like in terms of later, like he's already, from what I remember from the movies, I'll admit it's been a very long time since I've seen it, but he was more of, he's already playing his villain role. He's already kind of like a leader of
See,
like
you're
a
right.
group, right?
But-
Because what's coming to mind is like that scene in Heath's movie where he like burns a giant pile of money and he's got like
Right.
Goonies working for him and stuff like that.
Right, he's a
and then the
genius.
Joaquin version, he's not that yet.
But I don't think,
Like-
see, that's an argument I would have to say is like, I don't think Joaquin's Joker would ever be that person. So that's like, for me, this
You
is.
don't think so? I
No,
think
They
he
had
would
different
because-
motives.
I think he would because
How-
eventually get to that point because of how easily it was for him to accept a gun from a coworker.
This dude
He's
could barely get a
nothing.
job though.
But he's mentally, that's the whole
Right.
argument about like, and I don't want to go here because I am a
How society takes
responsible
advantage of
gun owner,
people.
but that's the whole gun control argument is that people like him can just go buy a gun.
Aaron Carter.
So it shouldn't inhibit my responsible ability to do it, but I think that's out there now for people to like, to see and think about. Agree with it or not, it is now out there in a visual representation of how like,
Fair enough, yeah.
oh, okay, let me just, whatever. And it's
And he
revolvers
knew
are
he should
easy.
have a gun,
Yeah. Because the
of that
movies had a lot of
reason,
messages like that.
Yeah, I just meant in terms of like, I don't know, his
Okay.
level of gullibility.
Yeah, like he just
He's-
trusted them and didn't even know any better.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that kind of was just like, because it is early on in his career as a villain.
Well, here's
let's
okay. So
say,
here's
you
an
know?
argument I wanted to make about that because I thought that was actually kind of an interesting portrayal. In the
Jokers in order.
huh? Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go
Your
ahead.
rankings. Let's hear
Go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
So I put them tied.
But to answer that, I think that
Yeah.
society has failed him, and so this is what happens when society fails you. So
Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna go to hell on YouTube for this. I think Heath Ledger was far too attractive for a role in which you are supposed to be disgusted by someone's behavior. It was difficult for me to look past how attractive Heath Ledger is and accept
That's
the
an interesting take.
horrible behavior of Joker. So I don't find Joaquin Phoenix all that attractive, and even more so in this film because they emaciated him and they
Yeah, he
aged
lost 50
him,
pounds.
and he's even less attractive physically.
Yeah.
It was easier for me to see true Joker behavior when I wasn't distracted by like dreamy blue eyes, right?
That's a
So.
little weird. I mean, the dude's face was all scarred up and
Well,
everything.
yes, but you know who Heath Ledger is.
No, I don't. Like,
You know who Heath Ledger is.
Yeah.
no, he
right?
was
Like,
so
yeah,
good. He
but
was so good in that role. I couldn't see
But
him.
you
Yeah,
are,
I lost
but you
Heath.
are not
Right.
a teenage girl, a prepubescent girl.
Yeah.
You are not a 20-year-old girl who is drooled over Heath Ledger.
There is
in
a
teen
level of
magazines
sexy to
and teen
him.
whatever. Yeah, it's like
There's
it's
a level.
just very
Yes,
different
you're
for,
right.
for girls.
There's a level of sexy to him, like the sexy
And
bad
even
boy
Jared
thing.
Leto.
but, like,
It is, right?
Yes,
and
it's
I
a
said
sexy
love.
bad boy thing.
Lividoll random.
Right, that's why I said I'm going to hell
Like,
for it,
everybody's
right?
like,
But
what
like,
is she talking about?
There's a level of
this
it,
is
yeah.
an industry that I work in, and I suffer from being typecasted or other people being typecasted. There are times I won't get roles because I am not naturally blonde or because I am too easy on the eyes, and it completely takes away from my ability to play a role based on how I would be received, right? And I don't feel like that's always fair.
Okay.
I do, however, love Jared Leto, and I think that he was incredible. So I go Heath, Joaquin, Jared. Just
but they're not.
Wait.
So
yeah, Heath's
Joaquin
over
is
here.
Joaquin is number one.
hands down number
Leto
one.
is 2,
Yeah.
and then Heath is 3.
Leto's too.
Heath is only 3 because I can't get past that sexiness of him, and I don't want
But you
to be.
could with
Jared?
Leto.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's been
Right. That's interesting.
because Jared Leto was never attractive to me. Like Joker
That's
and not
fair.
Joker.
Okay.
Right. And I was just
Yeah.
I never found him attractive. So I think I was able to look past the Jared Leto part of it and see the Joker part of it. And what I really liked the most is that I didn't understand Joker as much as I feel like I should have understood, not the movie, but the character, as much as I should have understood him. And then I really started in Suicide Squad, which isn't a great representation of the Joker, but I started to understand like what it means to really like go hard for someone regardless.
Okay.
So when I saw Joker, I got to kind of understand why or how someone could get to a place like that so easily and so seamlessly. No one just wakes up a serial killer. You don't wake up a psychopath. Like,
I'm just sorry, I'm laughing at it because now the fans are keeping a track of it's called the Lividoll random count. You're on. number 3 right
strap
now.
on, all y'all out there.
Yeah.
If you know anything about me.
I'm gonna make this one a summary really quick because I was actually just talking to Paul Levetz, who is very well known in the DC community. Is a long-time DC part of DC. Has written some of the best stories, and he actually gave a very good representation of Batman. But not just that, the Joker, and I'll never forget. I think it was him or somebody else in the documentary that said one of the things that makes the Joker so interesting is and so popular is. He does dark things, but he does dark things in a funny way, and you find yourself laughing at it, but you're just like, I shouldn't have been laughing at that. And once I heard this quote, I'm like, you know what? I think about Mark Hamill in the animated series, and I'm like, that is very true. Mm-hmm. Jack Nicholson, very true. Heath Ledger, very true. Yeah. And even Jared Leto, I thought was really good. He's like, ooh, what's this? And you start laughing, you're like, oops. With Joaquin's version, I didn't find anything funny about what he was so drastically different. It was very awkward, and so for me, I don't really. It's a very Elseworlds type of Joker. It's a good movie. I just don't know if I would say that's a Joker in terms of higher ranking. In terms of a portrayal of what they were trying to do, they knocked it out of the park. Mm-hmm. In terms of being Joker, a recognizable Joker, I think that's very far down the list.
It's an entirely different Joker than we're used to what he actually is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Right, but something,
That's what I see. That's what I meant by, like, it's the early stages of it.
Yeah.
He hasn't established his Joker
but again,
personality. He hasn't established that. I mean, he literally, like, right before he incites the riots in the streets, that's when he finally solidifies his.
But again, for me,
I think that was his purpose.
And then the movie's over. You know?
Well, I don't even think that, because for me, and this kind of, I know everybody's on the Joker hype train right now, Joaquin's Joker, but if I were to equate it to something, this looks like the Forrest Gump of DC Comics movie. This is, in some sense, this is like Forrest Gump, the way Forrest Gump was inspiring things to happen all around him. Joaquin's Joker was doing the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's his purpose. He was more of a symbol than
exactly
anything.
Yep.
And so I can't see him being some mastermind, criminal mastermind far into the future. I think he accidentally just walks into things and inspires people to do stuff. Even the final scene where he's standing on the burning cop car.
Which I love that scene,
but,
though.
yeah.
That was such an amazing
I was like,
scene.
wait, how did they uncuff him? But whatever.
He took the blood and made the smile.
Right.
Like, this is a beautiful scene right here.
It's a
love
beautiful
it.
scene,
that.
but again, it's very, for me, very Forrest Gump-ish in a sense. I'm like, wait, this, okay, well, good movie. Again, in terms of ranking of a clown prince of crime, far, far low for me. And I know, well, we don't know for sure, but in all likelihood, we aren't going to be seeing a sequel.
Yeah,
we
we're
might
not.
be seeing somebody else play that Joker in the future. We might see Matt Reeves' Batman tie, like, I still feel like we might see some sort of tie-in.
That'll be a huge age gap, though.
Well, no. We're going to get an older Joker like that.
Yeah, but say he had to be like old as hell.
But we may not even see them clash. We might see like generational thing, and they call it Harley Quinn or whatever. But I just thought that'd be an interesting way of including Matt Reeves' Batman tied into, and Matt Reeves would be doing a DC Black version of Batman. They just hadn't announced it yet, so I don't know. Anyways, so I wanted to get back into the whole thing about being into his, being uncomfortable in his own skin and like being stuck, sort of trying to fit into normal society. But there was always that one dance situation, and as a lot of us kind of pointed out, the one time his dance was actually really fluid and not uncomfortable was after he killed those 3 dudes on the train. In the bathroom. That bathroom scene was really wild, and the music was amazing. They sounded like they were playing the goddamn Reigns of Castamere, like the entire movie. But it was really fluid. That was like his ballot into becoming more of a Joker.
Each dance was a transition.
Right.
He got closer to he got, and when he finally became Joker and he was on a stairwell, he was like, oh, well, shit. Everything's just loose, and he's just dancing his ass off because that was his final stage. So that's why each iteration or scene of him dancing, it evolves every single time that he does it, which I love, which is pretty cool.
How much of you guys think like the final moments of that movie actually happened? Like, because there were a lot of things that were left to
Speculation,
interpretation,
and they did it on purpose too,
right?
which I love.
Wait, ask that again?
Well,
If the whole is your question, it was the whole movie just in his head, like the girl?
certain parts of it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the girl was definitely in his head.
Right, but then there was
relationship
this
with the
scene
girl.
of like, well, what happened when he was in that room? Like,
Because when he smashed his head on that one time when he was in the room, it was like, wait, and that's why they snuck that in so quick to make you question at the end when he ties that all around. Because,
Bloody footprints?
well, that's the thing.
Not his
That could
blood.
happen.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about after that, prior to that moment, what all was really real.
right,
Because the movie began and ended the same way.
Right.
With telling a story about a
yeah.
joke, and you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
So if at the end of the movie, when everything ends and comes together, and he says that, it's like, oh, we were laughing about, it's just a joke. Like, you wouldn't understand. So all of that could just be a lot of people interpreting it, and how Todd Phillips even kind of hinted, and that's why I left it open to interpretation, is that's the whole theory or the whole point of the story, is this whole thing's just a running joke. So like, is this on us? Like, this is the joke, he's just telling us a story. Is this an actual thing? Or are we just falling for the joke? Like, he's all that mental stuff is fine.
Very well said. Yeah.
But where does that line get crossed? And that's why they did that snippet. And when he's telling the story on with his psychiatrist, and they do a quick jump to him smashing his head against the psychiatric window, and then they snap right back into it. So I was like, So when they tie that at the end, now I'm kind of like, okay, it makes you question what's real or what not, because it could either end when he gets taken away, and that's when he really got caught, and he's in the psychiatric, or he's in the psychiatric the whole time telling the story, or
Exactly.
he just got caught somewhere at the end after they broke him out or whatever.
I have a question that I need help with because I didn't understand it in the movie, and now that I'm hearing you say that, it's maybe if I ask this, it will reframe it. Do you remember when he was with the psychiatrist or the civil services lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time, and she said, "Do you know why you were in the institution?" So that's the only point in time when it's even mentioned or alluded to that he was in a mental hospital ever.
Yeah.
So him going to pick up his mother's records at the institute, and he said something like, in fairness, they can't, you can't get psych meds unless you go see someone on a regular basis to prescribe them. So kids that take Ritalin, they have to go to the doctor every month to get the prescription. You can't just willy-nilly a prescription. So him checking in every month is not unreasonable. It's probably a requirement of the state. They want you to do step-down programs so that you can get immersed back into society, and they look for dangers. I think it was very prevalent, the message very early on, that most people who need the most help are often overlooked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
That was the point too.
and they're begging for help, and they just don't know how to ask for it. So just tell you, I'm not okay. Are you not listening? I'm not okay. I don't know what to do, but I'm not okay.
That's what I was saying. Like, do you listen?
Yeah.
Like,
He's you don't need
He's
to
like, you
listen to
don't even
anything that I
listen.
say.
Yeah.
And then she was like, dude, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
about you.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Getting
she doesn't
fired.
give a shit.
She
So
don't
she's
care.
just showing up doing a job that they
Right.
told her she had to do. And and I think that's where in real life society fails a lot of people because the resources are not where they need to be, and the help is not where they need to be. You should be able to just say to a health organization, I'm not okay. I need some help. And sometimes people, I think it's a great message that sometimes people don't know that they're not okay. And they rely on the people around them to tell them they're not okay, or to at least have the conversation with them. And I think if you don't have that, he was a social.
But I would think also the other problem is especially in America, is a society of just oh, something's not wrong with you. Here's take a fucking pill like that, and he was on 7 different medications and shit, and he still didn't feel right. Where in this kind of is a touchy subject of the fact that some people aren't meant to be in this particular type of society, working this particular sort of way, and there's other ways of like psychotic breakdowns, but that's the normal for them. So, and that's what that whole dance is all about.
Okay, so you're saying the whole him on being on 7 medicines and he's still not right. Well, so what I take away from that is the fact that when we find out about his mother being abusive and him having brain damage, no pill can fix brain damage.
I agree.
So it didn't matter if it was on 7 or 8 or 12.
Right.
When we found out what the problem really was, it made much more sense that nothing was working.
Right.
Because it's an irreversible thing.
Okay.
You know, it's not a chemical imbalance at that point.
Bringing it back to the comics for just a little bit because it's still a DC movie, DC Black. And this question I guess is more directed toward the Knight, as a Batman fan, Batman brethren. The portrayal of, well, I guess really just Thomas Wayne, and you know, over the last couple of years, the Wayne family, and particularly Thomas Wayne, has taken several different curves and different avenues, from the ever-loving parent to actually, yes, the sort of right-wing one-percenter type of asshole type of dude. And I thought Joker was really on the nose this time and portrayed Thomas Wayne as just a fucking asshole. There was like nothing caring about him except the fact that he loved his son.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I loved it. I love when they take turns like that, because I feel it's more, I won't say relatable, but it gives better stakes, and especially with such a character like Batman too. I think that also helps the development of, of said character. But yeah, Thomas Wayne was a complete asshole on this. He was the Trump of the movie, definitely, I will say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I loved it. And the funny thing is, they did such a turnaround, and that's what I love about this movie, is because the Joker, for one, is this character that you should be feeling sympathetic for, but yet they supply moments that you do.
Right.
But yet when they hit you with certain scenarios, you're like, okay, wait, so now what do I feel?
Right.
So like you have this whole situation where AKA the twist happens, where he's with his mom, and you're dealing with this person who is Arthur, who we come to understand and feel sorry for, and things like that. And you find out we have this guy who quite possibly could be just like a fucking illegitimate or just a piece of shit dad who just had you and like bye. And you find out it's Thomas Wayne. And throughout the movie, I'm like, when they kept building it up, I was like, are they going with Batman and Joker are like brothers right now?
Are they really going
I was
this
like,
way?
okay, which I was fine with. I was like, okay, sure. But I was like, this is gonna piss a lot of people off. But then they did it. I was like, okay, they did it. But then when you find out, when you have that confrontation in the bathroom, and Thomas Wayne's like, your mother's crazy. Like, you're not mine. Like, she made all this up in her head, yada yada. Then you're like, oh shit. So now who do you feel like? Which direction do you go now? Because we spent the whole latter of the movie feeling one way and sympathizing one way, but now it's kind of turned around. So I was like, okay, so now who do we look at? And that's what I love. The film's constantly changing your perception of things, and it doesn't give you a clear direction how you should feel. Other than uncomfortable, yes, but you really can't pinpoint like a hero or someone to side with, or who's right and who's wrong, because everything is really blurry. And that's, again, essentially the plot of the whole movie and what the Joker ends up standing for, amongst everything else.
Right.
So I loved it. I loved that aspect and approach of Thomas Wayne, because we had the cookie cutter good all the time, and it just, when you give that right, it gives Batman, it adds more to him as a character, and then it also gave the Joker a lot more to work with.
Now here's the next question. Because at the end of the movie, even though I was uncomfortable as shit watching this movie, I almost wondered to myself at the end of the movie, I was like, fuck, they created Batman in this movie. So the Joker,
And I loved it.
this was actually the telling of Batman Begins in some form or fashion. They still did the alley scene and everything, and I was like, holy shit. And I found myself yearning for a Batman in this world.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love it because it just shows you how truly attached these two individuals are. And like how just so involved in each other's creation they truly are. And we've had different kind of iterations for that before, and different approaches that didn't work so well. It's kind of like, I don't like that. This was such a direct but yet indirect creation of Batman or Joker's involvement in that. It wasn't like a Batman Returns, where it's the Joker, fucking what's his name, Napier or whatever.
Yeah. Jack Napier.
Yeah, literally coming in and killing Batman's parents, and that's the creation of it.
Dance with the devil.
I didn't really like that, but having Joker indirectly be the cause of the creation of Batman
Right.
was amazing because they're always going to have that connection. They're always going to be responsible for each other's creation.
Right, they dance with each other.
And that's what I love because they're just parallels, those two. So when you approach that in the way that they did, and especially in this kind of universe, I love that. And like again, it made me really want to see more of that, of Batman in that world.
To me, and we're still on comic talk here. It's I think only tonight would know. Unless Marta, you might have read it. Joker, the hardback, paperback. No. Okay. This one was written by Brian Azrael. But it's a really good hardback, and I see so many nods in this Joker movie, and see that's why I actually like Leto's Joker, because I think a lot of people have never read that paperback. In this story, this was a dude that looked like Heath's Joker, but was on fucking painkillers and antidepressants like Joaquin's Joker. Would be crying every once in a while, but the sadistic stuff like Leto's Joker. And that dancing with Harley in Suicide Squad was straight out of this paperback. Yeah. But Joaquin's, he would just be popping pills and then be crying, hugging Harley Quinn. It was like the most fucked up shit. And I love that about that. What was my point here? Maybe that's it. I just love that. No, there was somewhere I was going with it, but I did like I saw some nods to it. But I mean, I even saw a nod to the Adam West show in the Joker movie with Bruce going down the bat pole when he was on the playground. Yeah, going down that was a kind of a nod to the Adam West show going down the bat pole, I think.
And there was a lot of nods through the comic book throughout this film, like whether it was Killing Joke or Dark Knight Returns, which I loved. It wasn't so like on the nose. Somewhere, like at the end of the talk show, that was like Dark Knight Returns and his dream of being a comedian. That's the Killing Joke and all that.
Yeah. That's true.
So I thought they picked the right kind of scenes or inspirations to kind of feather within the story. I liked.
Before I forget, guys, if you guys want to make sure, if you wanted to donate to the drinking fund, we're going to be checking out Batwoman in a few minutes now, and streaming watching The Walking Dead, the premiere tonight. So this is kind of a warm up as well. If you want to help out with the donation fund, you can do it through the super chat directly or my PayPal me. Which I don't know where it is anymore, but I think was it really simple?
PayPal.me /Akamoney.
There you go.
Money. MONEY.
Oh.
She knows it way better than me.
/Akamoney.
She's amazing.
This memory is nothing to mess with.
So what did you guys think of the film compared to the hype? So did you think
that's a good question.
It was, because this film obviously before it even came out was highly controversial about the influence of creating people like the Joker, those influences, or promoting violence. How do you guys feel about that versus what you saw in the film?
I will say that was some fucking straight up. Which one was the Black Area riots that was created by the media a few years ago? Do you guys even remember the town that they were selecting? Like, the media was fucking on their dick. This particular town where some sort of court ruling was going to happen, and all the reporters were out there waiting for some fucking riot.
You're talking about Fruitvale.
Maybe
the guy that got on the BART station in San Francisco when he was shot in the back.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
But was that the one?
Because I know that there was a lot of riots in Oakland because of that.
No. I'm talking about the one where even before it was even an issue, the reporters and the media were stirring up the idea that there were going to be riots just to get any sort of. It was right around the time Planet of the Apes came out, I think. Anyways,
Planet of the Apes the original or
no,
War of
no,
the
no,
Planet of the
no,
Apes?
the remakes.
Okay, War of the Planet of the
The
Apes.
Matt Reeves.
The Matt Reeves ones.
Okay.
And so because I saw a bunch of black people finally rioting as the media wanted them to, and people are like, oh shit, this new trailer is a Planet of the Apes. Anyways, that's the main point was that the Joker thing. It was so annoying hearing about that because that was like completely a media-driven situation. I feel the only people that ever deserve to ever have their name in the media regarding this movie in the theater showings or non-showings was Aurora. And the fact that the Aurora Theater, where the Dark Knight killings happened, they pulled the movie. They said they're just not going to show it. I'm like, yeah, of course, that should be
Really? I
understandable.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
I didn't really look at any of like the media when it came to the Joker. I just heard about it, and then I have a friend who was like, we were talking about it, she's like, I'm not gonna see that movie because she's super hardcore with the comics, so she's like, I don't know. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go give it a chance because I like crappy movies. Like, I'll admit, I like crappy movies. I don't mind crappy movies, and I like really good movies. So I was really curious, and Joaquin Phoenix too. His name alone brought me to the movie, but I didn't really. I didn't know about that.
But
I've heard about like the police presence, and I remember thinking
There was tons of police on
as
that showing.
this past week, I was like, oh, that's when I was hearing like, oh, police are going to be showing up at random theaters. They're going to select random ones to kind of just be posted outside of, so people feel safe, and it brought all of that back. And I was like, you know what, I kind of feel comfortable with that. Like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of that was just media driven, just to get people to create more hype around the movie, basically, to go see it.
Oh.
Like,
so
'cause I
I
remember
see
I-
what you mean, like propaganda, like
Yeah, it
like
was-
a
I
propaganda
totally
thing
felt